Hello and welcome to episode 58 of the PlayStation Forecast. I am, as always, and until proven otherwise, your host, Alex Derrickson. I hope you guys had a great last 7 days. Hope you got to play all the stuff you wanted to do. I hope you were emotionally recovered in time for. Okay, sorry. Had a panic attack because I didn't think the mic was working. Hope you guys have recovered from the emotional roller coaster that has been the week that has brought us Avengers Endgame and The Long Night. The most recent episode of Game of Thrones. We're not here to talk about that, although both are great, and you should check both of them out. Unless you're not watching Game of Thrones, like you're not current on it, don't just jump right in on this one because it's not going to have the emotional gravitas that one would want from an episode of such magnitude. I picked up Days Gone. Played that. We'll rewind a little bit in case you missed the Wednesday stream. The archive of that is up on this here YouTube channel. Unless you're watching live on Twitch, I believe the VOD of that is available there as well. Just started the new game plus of that. Still love that game. God of War, still one of the best games ever made, if not the best, if not my favorite game of all time. Kind of getting back into it now for two reasons. One being I have teased a God of War kind of more. I did a video about What Remains of Edith Finch and its emotional resonance with me, and I'm planning one for God of War. It's a bit more of an undertaking than the Edith Finch one was, so I'm kind of just working my way through that through God of War again to kind of get my thoughts and my wits about me and what I'm trying to go for in the message. So that if you want to check out the first like 2 hours of God of War New Game Plus on the easiest difficulty, that is there for you. But in terms of new games, bought and played that there. Holy shit, that there Days Gone. Now, that has been a divisive game this last week, right? It came out on Friday. It's Monday night now, so just through the weekend. The embargo came up for it on Thursday. It didn't really affect me much as I did not have a review code for it, but. Got in there, kind of wanted to see what all the divisiveness and the hubbub was, and since it's I like Bend Studios' work in the past. I wanted to support them, obviously. And so I'm an hour into it, and I can't stress that enough, that this analysis I'm going to make is after an hour. I have not gotten back into it since this past Saturday, but I at least want to point out the highs and lows that I've noticed within 60 minutes, which I will preface this with a completely unfair analysis of this game. This is not a review. This is not scored. This is nothing outside of Alex has played an hour of Days Gone and has some words to say about it. Now, my stance with this is right now it's good. I think from an aesthetic standpoint, it is a very pretty game. Of course, I am playing it on, as I describe her, as old launchy, and on a 720p, like 27-inch TV. So I'm not getting the full 4K effect. I haven't dived in to the highest of definitions. I just haven't had time to put it on the upstairs one and all that noise. Either way, from the jump, this is a very pretty game. The environments are gorgeous. The character models are really well done. The lip sync is good. It looks and feels like a 2019 game in terms of those regards. The targeting, I kind of felt in terms of like the gunplay. Again, there's skill trees, so I don't know if this is directly affected as you upgrade the skill trees and things like that. Again, this is just first blush. The targeting reminds me of a little bit of Uncharted. I thought the bike handled a little loose. I thought it didn't quite have a grip to the road like I would expect. It kind of slid all over the place. It was very, just like I said, loosey-goosey in terms of whether or not if I tried to like turn left or right, the degree in which it did was, I thought, a little more towards the extreme. I would think that gets better as you progress and upgrade the bike and upgrade your guns and stuff like that. But again, first blush. One thing I didn't like, if we're just being honest, is the first cutscene happens. It's emotional. It didn't quite hit me as hard as like say a Last of Us opener did, where it is this kind of like scene that's supposed to lay out this emotional resonance, but it didn't hit with me the same way that like something like Last of Us did, or something like you would expect like a really high quality cold open to. That doesn't mean it's not bad or not good. It just didn't strike a chord with me. Then it loads you into however many days have gone by / how many days have gone, or how many days gone. But tis. And it starts a quick cutscene and then throws you in onto the bike. There is no control explanation. There is no tutorial to any of this. It's just like, bam, you're on the bike, go. And it felt kind of like the antithesis to like something like a Spider-Man did, right? Where it did kind of walk you through the web swinging as I, calamitously smacked into every building in New York. This one I was running into every tree and I didn't feel like I was getting better. So I had to kind of like restart, get back into it, get my bearings about me, figure out like, how sensitive is this throttle? How much do I need to put on it? How much do I need to apply to the brake to kind of maintain some semblance of stability, right? I think just a quick like, hey, R2 goes would have been nice. Going a step further, the way in like the melee combat and then with the gunfire, the way the blood smatters is really bad. I thought it looked very cheap. Not even in like an excess way. And I talked about that a little bit on Facebook, but like I didn't like the way it just kind of was like it looked like a weird confetti gun full of blood had been shot. But it's like there's stuff like that. If we're getting into like nitpicky, nuancy things, the fact that when you go from gameplay to cutscene to gameplay, it's gameplay, fade to black, fade in, cutscene ends, fade to black, fade in, gameplay. And like those feel really like unnecessary measures. Like I don't know if maybe I just feel spoiled by how seamless a lot of these games have been with like Uncharted and with Horizon and Spider-Man and stuff like that. There wasn't that constant like ebb and flow of and I guess just poor ebb and flow, poor pacing. Then like I said, I mean like the game plays fine. I think the world is really lush and beautiful and I really like that. I haven't gotten to experience a whole lot with the Freakers. I've dealt with some Newts and some Rippers. But in terms of like everything else, I'm limited in my scope. I don't feel like I like the UI. I love the in-game UI. I love the menu systems, but I don't feel like enough was done in that first hour to really explain everything. Like I was kind of figuring the stuff out as I went, where I was like, oh, that's a meter. Lets me know how loud I'm being. That will play into more stealth stuff. And that stuff isn't like highlighted or pointed out. It's like, hey, pay attention to this. Like this is important. Like there's none of that there. And I kind of felt like I was thrown to the wolves in a way. And that was a little problematic because it was me in a game that has so many functions, right, and so many mechanics, where it's this open world survival action game, which kind of survival action I feel like kind of play at odds with each other. But then you have the crafting and things like that. I thought the weapon wheel was fine and the crafting mode was all right. It's convenient enough, but everything just kind of feels like an okay to good game that has a really great game stacked inside of it. And I hope that as I get into it, and this game runs like 30 to 40 hours, I've read, I'm hoping that there's enough there to sustain me through the 30 to 40, because I'd hate to jump ship on it, But I think the bar is kind of set with how fun like Spider-Man was, how fun that world was, how well balanced that was with the action, with the stealth, with the exploration, things like that. And then stuff like Horizon, where you can like crit path the whole thing through, or you can branch off, do these side missions, see how the world interacts with itself, and all of that stuff. So I mean the bar I feel like is set kind of high. Bend has been working on this game for a while. I am excited to continue playing it, but I'm not going to pass any sort of like final judgment or anything like that, obviously, because I'm 1/50th in terms of time into this game. I've seen a lot of people describe it as like a Ubisoft game that Ubisoft would have done better, more paint by numbers, more like it's an open world game and that's it. So we'll see. I'm excited to spend more time in it. But those are just kind of first blush things that, like I said, I've noticed. If you want to watch the stream archive from Saturday, that is on the YouTube channel. The VOD is probably on Twitch as well. I don't know how long those things archive, to be totally honest. I'm still trying to figure this whole Twitch world out. But yeah, so that's caught you up with me and the 10 minutes that it usually takes to get there. So let's just do this. This is the PlayStation Forecast, and it does come to you each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/PressX2Alex and podcast services around the world, including that there Spotify. And remember, if you want to I got tangled there. If you want to get the show early, how early you may be asking, you can get the show right now. As it happens, get a peek behind that curtain, see how that sausage gets made on twitch.tv/pressxtoalex, where you can watch the show live as it happens Monday night and hang out with me and all the technical difficulties that are probably bound to happen sometimes. If you can't watch it live, do not worry. The show does go live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/pressxtoalex and those podcast services that I talked about earlier. If you want to support the show, you can over at patreon.com/pressxtoalex at the one tier to rule them all, where you can support this, the streams, everything I do here for just $1 a month. That's it. There's no content behind a paywall. There's nothing gated, nothing I'm preventing you from watching to be like, oh, you're not giving me money. So if you want to support the show, you can for as little as $1 a month. And remember, if you don't have $1, that's totally cool. You can always just subscribe to the show on the podcast service of your choice or on YouTube, or follow me on Twitch as we slowly try to grow everything as organic as we can. Because we're not vegan, but everything we do here is going to be organic. And if you want to have your voice heard on the show, you can write in to psforms.pressxtoalex.com, or just get at me at twitter.com/pressxtoalex, where you can submit questions, comments, commentaries, concerns, whatever else you may want to talk about under this whole video game PlayStation umbrella. Whew! Without further ado, let's get into the news. So, as I turn here, if you're joining me late, or if you're watching this or listening to this on Tuesday, first off, hi, how are you? Secondly, the last few weeks, really since I think like maybe 1 or 2 weeks after year 2 has started, I had been running the show with a laptop for the news, with the laptop for the streaming and the recording behind it. Today, we are running full bore on everything, with being recorded, streamed, and the news coming off of one. So if anything on the video version looks a little choppy, that's why. That's also why I'm flailing my arms like a slowly dying fish. And then also, the audio should always be fine. This doesn't seem to ever be affected. Now, this is the part where it's going to get affected, I'm sure, because I shot my mouth off. But just be warned, if you're watching the video version, I'm well aware of the shortcomings that are kind of happening this week. I am going to boost this here audio, though, just a smidgen. Oh, yeah. Oh, redlining a little bit. Okay, let's get into the news. Now, Sony, we talked about late last year, or early this year. I think it was late last year. They're not going to be at E3. No Sony E3. So what's gonna fill that Monday night prime rib spot? Square Enix, my friends. This is from over at GameSpot.com from Kevin Nezovic. I'm assuming that K at the beginning is silent. Kevin, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Or maybe both Ks are silent and it's Evan. Who knows? But with less than 2 months to go until E3 2019 arrives, many of gaming's biggest publishers have begun detailing their plans for this year's show. Microsoft recently confirmed the date and time of its annual Xbox press conference, and now Square Enix has announced it is holding another live presentation of its own at this year's Expo. The Square Enix live broadcast is scheduled to take place on Monday, June 10th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the time slot traditionally occupied by Sony's E3 press conference. Sony, of course, won't be using that time slot this year, as the company announced back in November that it won't be attending E3 2019, leaving a sizable gap for other publishers to fill. The Square Enix live presentation will be broadcast online on the company's website and other social media channels. As for what will be revealed during the broadcast, Square Enix has only hinted that will focus on, quote, another exciting lineup of titles, end quote. Last year, the company showcased Kingdom Hearts 3, Just Cause 4, and even revealed a handful of unannounced games like Babylon's Fall, a new title from Bayonetta developer Platinum Games. What was conspicuously missing from last year's presentation was the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Little has been said about the time since it was first announced. Little has been said about the title since it was first announced back at Sony's E3 2015 press conference. So there is a chance it may make an appearance in this year's broadcast. Square Enix also has an Avengers game in the works that we know very little about, and a Nintendo Switch version of Dragon's Quest XI on the way this year, which will presumably be one of the games highlighted during this event. E3 2019 officially kicks off on Tuesday, June 11th. And it kind of just goes into E3 for this year. Things that are interesting to note, right? That, like, of all things that you wonder if this was offered to other people before it got to Square's hands, or if Square just went to the board of E3 and was like, we want Sony's spot, and they said okay. Yeah, I wonder if, like, maybe they were like, hey, Microsoft, do you want this? Hey, EA, do you want this? Hey, Nintendo, do you want this? Hey, Limited Run Games. Hey, Devolver Digital. Hey, like, whatever. Like, how many chairs in this game did they try to get people to sit in before Square was like, we'll take it, we'll buy it? Sorry. It's interesting that Square's taking it, right? Because Square's E3 presentation last year was a little underwhelming. It focused like it's like the GameSpot article said, it was kind of Kingdom Hearts heavy. It didn't show anything really new. It was a lot of, I feel like we saw that same Kingdom Hearts trailer like 3 times last year during E3. But you would think they're taking this. What one would assume, and this is dangerous. This is a dangerous game when it involves E3, is assuming. But one would assume that Final Fantasy VII Remake news, maybe that Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics. There's you feel like there's got to be something, right? That they're taking that Monday night 9 p.m. spot, 9 p.m. Eastern spot, which was a semi-coveted spot that was always held by Sony. And it's interesting that Square, of all people, are taking it and presumably running with it. So something to look out for, I guess. Probably have new stuff in the works, obviously, to roll out. I doubt we'll see, obviously, like, they don't have Hitman anymore. They're still holding on to Tomb Raider, whether that's going to be anything. Dragon Quest XI. And then one would assume, like I said, Final Fantasy VII Remake, the Avengers game, and maybe a few other stuff. But interesting little development, little wrinkle in the E3 2019 quilt, right? So we'll see come June, and maybe we'll hear more by then. It's almost May. It will be the last 30 days, has September, April, June. Yeah, it'll be the last day of April by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to it as it goes up on YouTube and podcast services, right? So we're ever so close to E3, and that's so scary. But as stuff kind of comes out, interesting developments happening. We'll see more in June, maybe hear more earlier. I don't know. Next bit of news comes by way of one Matt Piscatella's Twitter. Remember, if you are not following Matt Piscatella, you are messing up big time. These are your March 2019 NPD numbers. I'm just going to read this straight off of Matt's Twitter thread for this month. So let's go. March 2019 tracked spending across video game hardware, software, accessories, and game cards totaled $1.2 billion, declining 11% when compared to a year ago. Declines are expected across all segments. First quarter spending across tracked video game hardware, software, accessories, and game cards has declined 2% when compared to 2018 to $3.2 billion. Gains in software as well as accessories and game cards could not offset declines in hardware spending. Your top software titles for March of 2019 were number 1. This is across all platforms. So March 2019 games, physical and full game digital for publishers in the Digital Leader panel ranked on dollar sales. Number 1, Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Number 2, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Number 3, MLB 19 The Show. Number 4, Devil May Cry 5. Number 6, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 8, NBA 2K19. Number 9, Number 6, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 7, NBA 2K19. Number 8, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 9, Yoshi Crafted World. And number 10, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Let's see. Your overall best-selling games year to date for 2019 are number 1, Kingdom Hearts 3. Number 2, Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Number 3, Anthem. Number 4, Resident Evil 2 2019. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 6, Jump Force. Number 7, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 8, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Number 9, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. And number 10, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Your top selling games for the 12 months, so rolling 12 months from March 2018 to March 2019. Your top selling games are number 1, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Number 3, NBA 2K19. Number 4, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 5, Madden NFL 19. Number 6, Marvel's Spider-Man. Number 7, God of War 2018. Number 8, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Number 9, FIFA 19. And number 10, Mario Kart 8. Dollar sales of tracked console, portable, and PC video game software reached $547 million in March 2019, declining 11% when compared to a year ago. First quarter dollar sales of tracked console, portable, and PC video game software totaled $1.5 billion, 2% higher when compared to a year ago. Your top 10 PS4 games for March of 2019 were number 1, Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Number 2, MLB 19 The Show. Number 3, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Number 4, Devil May Cry 5. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 6, NBA 2K19. Number 7, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Number 8, Jump Force. Number 9, Marvel's Spider-Man. And number 10, Grand Theft Auto 5. Let's see if there's anything else. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 was the best-selling game of March 2019 and is now the second best-selling game of 2019. Launch month sales of Tom Clancy's The Division 2 are the 6th highest in history for a Ubisoft-published game. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was the number 2 best-selling game of March and now ranks 8th year-to-date. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice represents the second highest launch month sales for a From Software game, trailing only Dark Souls 3, which released in the April 2016 tracking period. MLB 19 The Show debuts as the third best-selling game of March. Launch month sales of MLB 19 The Show are the highest in franchise history and has also set an all-time high for a baseball genre game. Kingdom Hearts 3 is now the best-selling game in franchise history, with lifetime sales now exceeding those of the previous best in the franchise, Kingdom Hearts, which was released in September of 2002. Let's see if there's anything else here. Accessories and game cards. Total spending on accessories and game cards declined 7% in March 2019 when compared to a year ago to $349 million. Gamepads were the best-selling accessory type for the month, with single-digit percentage growth when compared to a year ago. First quarter spending on accessories and game cards increased 2% when compared to a year ago to $929 million. As with March, gamepads represent the best-selling accessory type. The PlayStation 4 DualShock 4 Wireless Controller Black is the best-selling gamepad of 2019 in both unit and dollar sales. Again, please follow Matt with one T, Matt Piscatella on Twitter for this kind of information. It's awesome. I love looking at this every month. I look forward to it every time. A couple things to note, right? If we're looking through this, first off, congratulations to Ubisoft for another hit. Surprising to see Sekiro on there at number 2, especially in a world that keeps trying to push that single-player games are dead. So seeing Sekiro up there at number 2, that's a strong-ass debut for them. Especially with a new IP just from a more lauded developer. And then Activision at the publishing realm kind of pushing this between multi-platform, you know. Looking at the top games, though, Anthem falls out. Anthem for March was number 11. It just falls out of the top 10. But it's riding high here. Was it 8 for just year-to-date sales, I think it was. It was sitting here at, I'm sorry, not 8. 3, which is much better. So it's sitting at 3 year to date for a game that just launched in February, but it's sitting at 11 for the month. So that shows that Anthem hasn't carried a lot. And we're going to kind of get into that here in the mishandling of how Anthem's been done. But kind of looking at that kind of not a fall from grace, unless we're talking about the developer and the publisher in general, but a strong debut not being carried. And as a games as a service, or like a live service game, whatever you want to call them, Loot, Toot, and Boogies, or loot shooting boogies, as I like to call them. But to see it year to date so high, but last month fall out of the top 10, it's kind of it's not fortuitous. It's showing that's a precipitous drop, right, between like month to month, between just launching in February to being the third best selling game year to date, but not being in the top 10 for the second month of it being out. Doesn't bode well. It shows that word of mouth has traveled, right? That this isn't the game. This is not the game you're looking for as of now. Now, will they No Man's Sky it? I don't know. We'll get into that in a little bit with actually I think the next news story is about Anthem, but it's not a good look. So we'll move into that actually. Congrats again to Ubisoft and Massive with Tom Clancy's Division 2 now being the number 2 best-selling game of 2019. As well as Kingdom Hearts holding strong as the top-selling game of the year so far. Obviously, that will shift and change as the year progresses, but right now, it's a good look. But we're gonna take this baby over to Forbes. Paul Tassi has the article up. Anthem delays its entire roadmap, hasn't fixed the loot, and this all feels very, very bad. Let me work my way through these ads here. Damn, get off my back. Yesterday was the red wedding of news for Anthem. That's apropos with Thrones being the zeitgeist, right? While an update brought some quality of life changes, some buffs, and a new stronghold, BioWare finally said what we all knew was coming, but perhaps didn't want to believe. The entire Anthem roadmap is now delayed. BioWare delivered on practically nothing that was supposed to get here in April other than yesterday's stronghold and a live event or two, but on nothing else that fans assumed would not be crammed into the final week of the month has indeed been delayed. That would be things like a mastery system, guilds, leaderboards, various free play events, more legendary missions, and also Maze Cataclysm, which BioWare will now talk about in May, but it almost certainly won't be out next month. There's no revised roadmap, there are no new dates or months attached to any of these items. Only a statement from BioWare that their mistake was talking about things too soon, and they'd wait to reveal stuff closer to when it was actually ready going forward. Perhaps most biting was the section about loot in the update post, namely that BioWare knows that loot and progression are a problem, and they are working on fixes, yet they have nothing to announce on the topic. No drop rate increases, no additional sources of legendaries, no word on new or missing items, and again, no promised dates for any potential upcoming changes. This all culminated in one of the most awkward live streams that I've being the writer, being Paul here, have ever seen, with a dev community team playing through the new stronghold as chat spammed loot and all other manner of anger and confusion, while the community manager explained that they would only be talking about stronghold and referred everyone to the update post explaining that everything was delayed and loot wasn't going to be fixed indefinitely. It was painful. See, I've been one of Anthem's most prominent optimists despite my criticism, but something feels different now. The winds have changed. The oxygen has been sucked out of the room. It feels like there may just be too much wrong with Anthem to fix, and even if many loot shooters struggle in their early days, we're in a spot where things feel worse than we ever saw with Diablo, Destiny, or The Division. There's simply no reason to play the games, as you can easily go for hours without making an iota of character progress, and if you do play, there's no reason to do anything but Hearts of what is that? But GM1 Hearts of Rage. But GM Hearts of Rage runs over and over in the only mildly efficient way of getting loot, given current drop rates and the way activities work. There needs to be a massive change made to almost every aspect of Anthem outside of its core combat, and I genuinely don't know if it can be done. This is getting editorialized, and I'm bouncing from this, but you get the gist that Anthem has not gone to plan, which was a worry of mine, right? Because I saw, everyone knows my love for BioWare, and hashtag Mass Effect 3's ending was fine. I am a BioWare apologist to the fullest extent. I skipped out on Anthem. One, because I don't like games as service as a whole. I loved The Division 2, but I've kind of pulled back from that because I've realized I don't have the time for something like that. But it's something I can still kind of like fall back on if I'm bored, right? With Anthem, it just does not seem like they've gotten off to not even the right start, but any start. Like, this is a trip out the gate. And it was a concern, especially with you know, everyone's love to hate EA, right? Like the EA, it's popular to hate EA. It's cool to hate EA. And while EA does do great things, like how they what they handle with A Way Out and how they do like Unravel and things like that, they still have these sorts of missteps along the way, right? Still kind of forcing Frostbite onto games that really probably shouldn't be running Frostbite and the like. It's packing all this stuff in, making these demands, and we've seen stories about how Anthem was perceived, how Anthem was perceived and received, before launch and after launch. And just that it just didn't feel like it was a consumer friendly game. And the problem with it is I think it's okay to make these mistakes, especially with games like this. We're still, as an industry, learning how this works, learning how games as a service should play. But the problem is something like Destiny has happened. Something like The Division has happened. Something like Destiny 2 has happened. 1 month later, after Anthem, something like The Division 2 has happened. And Anthem didn't learn from any of those mistakes. And that's the problem. And not only have they not learned from the mistakes, they aren't showing signs of correcting them, or are taking much longer than anticipated or much longer than they would have liked to correct them. And that's a bad look. I think looking at something like Borderlands 3, which is going to have a bigger reveal here this week, it makes me wonder, at least. I don't know if it does anything for you, but it makes me wonder whether or not, like, does Borderlands 3 exist in the same vacuum that like Anthem does? We're like, well, we're going to make this game. Are we going to have a Fallout 4 situation where Fallout 4 launches, but The Witcher 3 has already come and done it better? And Fallout didn't do anything to like correct or build off of it. Like Anthem feels like a game that was built off the backs of the mistakes that similar games have made, but they didn't do anything different. They just built the same house on top of that house, right? And whereas something like The Division 2 fixed a lot of the problems that The Division had, or something like how Destiny 2 has turned their ship around. You even take something like No Man's Sky and the adjustments and tweaks they've made over the last few years too. It's possible to make these things better. And right now, where BioWare is dragging their feet, it's drumming up for me feelings of like Battleborn and feelings for like Friday the 13th, which is not their fault. Friday the 13th isn't Friday the 13th's fault. But the idea of the abandoned roadmap of this is more than we anticipated. Sorry. Like, they're not getting ahead of the messaging and instead are putting to their own quote, putting too much out there too soon and realizing like, oh shit, like we can't, like there's too much going on with it. And it's unfortunate because like I would love for one day me to get online, get on old IGN, get on GameSpot, get on whatever, and just see an article that's like, Anthem is fixed, it's good now. Because I would love to try it. Like, that world looks so cool, and that idea and that concept looks so cool and so interesting and so BioWare. And like, I want to get my grubby little mitts on it, but I'm not going to, because right now I don't want to play a game that doesn't feel whole, but also doesn't feel like it's being supported by the team that made it. Like, to have such a fragile spine in that game does not make me want to play that any more than I did when I didn't want to play it when it launched. So it's unfortunate because I want BioWare to do well. I don't want BioWare to crumble under their publisher's own hubris, right? Like, it's got to be something that's got to get corrected, because I think if it stays the course, there isn't an Anthem 2, and I don't know how EA handles BioWare from there, because it feels like they're taking a big loss on this right now. Whether that's a financial loss or whether that's just like a morale, like mental L, I don't know. I can't speak to, but we're seeing the drops in the sales, right? Month to month, going from still being the third best-selling game of the year. That's great. That's wonderful. But for it to have dropped from like number 1-ish, top 2, like last month, to number 11, you're seeing that like the winds are not carrying this game down the river as well as EA would have liked, or as well as BioWare would have liked. Next news story from Adam Bankhurst at IGN. The Bloodborne, the board game, hits Kickstarter goal in under 20 minutes. Bloodborne, the board game, which is based on the PlayStation 4 title by From Software, has reached its Kickstarter goal of $200,000 in less than 20 minutes. As of this writing, the Kickstarter is currently sitting at $588,317 with 21 days to go in its campaign. Considering it is already successfully funded in 17 minutes to be exact, those who back the project can expect to receive the game around May of 2020. Designed by Michael Shinall and Eric M. Lang, Bloodborne, the board game, will allow everything shifted. Oh my God! Will allow 1 to 4 players, the chance to explore Yharnam in a whole new way, although still with the same terrors, beasts, monsters, and more of the PS4 title, including the Cleric Beast, Vicar Amelia, Father Gascoigne, God damn it, and the Blood-Starved Beast. Each game is said to take between 60 to 90 minutes to complete and utilizes a diceless, card-driven combat system, with your choices playing a huge role in if you succeed or fail. Bloodborne, the board game, will include 4 different campaigns, with each containing 3 different chapters with, quote, unique content and varying enemy behavior, end quote. Those who pledge to the Kickstarter within the first 24 hours will be able to secure a copy for $90 US, and with the added benefit of an exclusive Kirkhammer Hunter and dashboard. Following the first 24 hours, the price will be raised to $100 US Americano, but will still include the exclusive figures. The Kirkhammer Hunter will join 4 other hunters that can be chosen by the player in this board game: Saul Clever Hunter, Threaded Cane Hunter, Ludwig's Holy Blade Hunter, and Hunter Axe Hunter. This is like a foreign language to me. There will be 28 different monsters, 5 bosses, and so much more included in this one package, with stretch goals like Chalice Dungeon rules adding even more if met. Bloodborne, which also made it to the very top of our IGN's list of the best PS4 games, originally released in 2015, but has become a much-loved classic that doesn't seem to be losing any momentum as we all breathlessly wait for any world on the much-wished-for Bloodborne 2. Cool. Like I said, that all felt like a very foreign language that I just read, because I've never played Bloodborne. I feel like I should. I know friend of the show Joseph, probably every time I say I feel like I should play Bloodborne, shouts, "Yes, you should," into the ether, to which I hear it in the form of a text to me that says you should play Bloodborne. I will. I think eventually. I don't think I'll get very far, nor do I think I will have a good time. I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure one of the Wednesday streams, oh God, within the next couple months will be a Bloodborne stream. Maybe I'll make that an Extra Life thing. We'll think that through. But let me know your thoughts on the Bloodborne board game, or if you'd like to see me do Bloodborne, or if I should lump it as a charity deal. Put it in the comments, or just get at me at Twitter or psforums.pressxtalex.com. But cool, you can support the Bloodborne board game now for $100 to get the game when it launches, probably in May of 2020. Board games on Kickstarter are tricky. It feels like they either get delayed, come out right on time, or never come out at all. And when I say delay, I don't mean like 1 or 2 months. I mean like a year or 2. I just don't fund stuff on Kickstarter. It's too hairy for me. Next story from Rachel Weber at GamesRadar.com. Hideo Kojima and Norman Reedus spill some intriguing new Death Stranding details. Tonight in New York, on stage with his Death Stranding star Norman Reedus, Hideo Kojima threw the audience a few tantalizing scraps of information about his new game, including how all players will be connected, how Reedus shapes the hero Sam, and about a secret area of the game where the player can take control of a camera. Quote, "It is an open-world action game, but it's really something new," said Kojima. "There's so many things happening in the real world, in America, in Europe. Everything is actually connected by the internet, but in a way, we're not connected in the real world these days," end quote. Quote, "I'm putting that as a metaphor in the game. The player will have to reconnect the world in the game. You are very alone. There's solitude, but you're trying to connect. The story and the gameplay, the key word is connection. There are so many things in between, of course, but the key is connection," end quote, he continues. Another quote, "I also threw in a really new idea. You're connecting the game, and everyone is playing it together, and you'll be connected. Everyone will be connected together as well. I can't say anything because Sony will be very unhappy. I don't want to be disconnected from Sony," end quote. The fuck? It's easy to read this explanation as referring to some sort of online world similar to an MMO, but knowing Kojima, it will be something far more mind-blowing than that, and could use PlayStation's online capabilities in a brand new way. After all, this is the man that had characters in the Metal Gear Solid series ordering the player to turn off their console to abort a mission, or reading the contents of the player's memory card. Psycho Mantis, best boss fight of all time. Just saying. That's just saying. Reedus, who most will recognize as Daryl from The Walking Dead, also spoke very carefully about how the game was different from others he'd seen. Quote, "It's a different way of thinking," said Reedus. "I have a teenage son. I've played some games where you just kill everybody. It's not like that. There's violent elements to it, but it's just a different thing," end quote. Reedus and Kojima clearly have a lot of mutual respect and affection, and Kojima spoke on the character almost like a muse, saying, quote, "In Death Stranding, I'm going to put every aspect of Norman in there," he said. "There's a lot of cutscenes, and there's a lot of long cutscenes. You'll see Norman as Sam in the game and see his acting in the cutscenes, and you will enjoy that," end quote. It goes on about the secret room, where you can control the camera and all that stuff. I won't steal any more information. Another click away from Games Radar here. You can read that, though. It's from the Tribeca Film Festival, and Norman and Hideo talking about Death Stranding, which we still don't know what that is. Like, what the hell? What? Like, it's hard not to read that and just kind of just laugh out of frustration and confusion, right? Like, we don't have a date for this game. It's probably cross-gen, right? It's probably going to be a PS4, PS5 kind of dueling game there. But what the hell? Like, what? I don't know. I feel like Kojima could sit down next to me with a translator, with Norman Reedus, a DualShock, and explain to me verbatim in the most layman-y terms what this game is, and I'd still be like, what? It's weird because the more we learn, the less I know. That's where I'm at with it. But that's where we're at with it, too. Next story comes from Ethan Gatch at Kotaku. PlayStation Now has gotten a lot better. PlayStation Now used to be a pricey way to stream the PlayStation's back catalog of games, which was only useful for people with good internet and no bandwidth caps. Last September, the company added the option to download certain games directly, allowing users to play them offline. PlayStation Now is now a lot more like Microsoft's Game Pass and a lot better as a result. Sony dedicated a portion of its fiscal 2018 earnings call with investors earlier today to pointing out how PlayStation Now has evolved since it was first announced back in 2014. While the service only has 700,000 subscribers at the moment, a small fraction of the 96.8 million PS4s that have been sold, Sony said that the number has grown 40% since the year prior. Even more surprisingly, the company revealed that PlayStation Now users actually spend more time playing downloaded games than streaming them. PlayStation Now costs $20 a month or $100 if you sign up for the year. Quote, "Since the launch of the download service, gameplay time per user has grown significantly to the point where gameplay time on downloaded PS4 titles is doubled that of stream titles, a trend which has contributed to higher user engagement with and retention on the PS Now service," end quote, Sony said. PlayStation Now originally grew out of Sony's acquisition of the cloud gaming tech company Gaikai in 2012. When the service rolled out in 2014, it was pitched in part as a way to work around the PS4's lack of backwards compatibility. It was also a way to bring big games like The Last of Us to less powerful devices like the PS Vita and certain TVs manufactured by Sony. While it was good in theory and worked in practice, latency was still an issue, especially for those with poorer quality internet connections. The prices were also terrible. People had to rent games a la carte with the option of buying 4 hours, 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days of access to a game. 4 hours with Final Fantasy XIII-2 was $5 when the service launched, while Guacamelee, which cost $15 on the PS3, was the same amount for a 90-day rental on PS Now. Sony ditched the individual rental scheme in 2016, added support for PS4 games in 2017, and then last September finally made select PS4 games downloadable. Similar to how the monthly PlayStation Plus games work, period. I just intonated that strange. When the Switch happened, a lot of games weren't initially included. Now nearly all of the PS4 games are on the service, including Bloodborne, Prey, and XCOM 2. Sony's big first-party exclusives like Horizon Zero Dawn and The Last of Us Remastered are still missing from the service, but it's come a long way from the days of paying $5 to play an old JRPG for a few hours. Two things to note, right? 700,000 PS Now subscribers, which is more than I would have thought. And how it's slowly, we're going to kind of segue into this in a second here, closing in on 100 million consoles sold. I do want to get clarification whether that's sold or shipped, and I'm hoping this next article will kind of dive into that in a little more detail, because I've seen it both ways. I've seen 100 million sold, I've seen 100 million shipped. I'm not sure which one is the truth. But 700,000 PS Now subscribers is pretty solid. Like the percentage, right? The concurrent percentage, if you're putting the two together, isn't great. Like 700,000 versus 96 mil. It's not what you want to see, but 700,000 dedicated subscribers to PS Now is pretty extraordinary, especially given how flubbed that whole infrastructure was, that whole setup was, and the whole idea of it was. And we detailed that a little bit in the Kotaku article, but good on Sony for kind of recognizing like, hey, this is a bit of a shit show, and over the course of 3 years kind of like adjusting it, making it a bit more market friendly. A lot of that is credit to what Microsoft did with Game Pass. While Game Pass has much better services like Day and Date and the like, being able to download those games instead of just being tied to streaming them kind of circumvents those data caps, circumvents bad bandwidth, circumvents bad connection speed, and only helps the consumer, it only helps the subscriber, and then getting the prices to a more stable monthly format or yearly format as opposed to by the hour, the month, the 90-day cycle. So they're making a lot of corrections, and you're seeing that, I think, in lieu of PS5, right? Which is something we talked about last week, where you're seeing Sony adjust how digital games are purchased at brick and mortar retailers, how the online return policy has been implemented, how cross-play has been implemented, how PS Now has made these adjustments on the fly and things like that. And there's have to be like pillars for what PS5 is going to be, but they're kind of getting ahead of the infrastructural changes now, so it's ready for the future. So good on them. I'd like to see that number grow. Obviously, I know since those adjustments over the last few years have been made, I've been more inclined to want to check it out. I've have trials that I've just let expire and never redeemed. So I don't know. I've tried PS View, if that counts for anything, and it's okay. But PS Now, whole other monster. I may have to check it out, check out how the download stuff works and any latency issues and things like that. But cool. I had no idea 700,000. You got to think they're proud of that number because it's the double growth or everything that. But Sony doesn't typically toss around numbers if they're not relatively okay with it. I mean, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like since I've started this show, at least, so within the last year, we've never gotten like hard set PS Now numbers. So to get that shows growth, shows promise, shows support for it, I think, down the road. I'm not going to lie. This glass smells like a butthole. If you're listening to the audio version, I keep taking sips out of this glass because I left my water bottle upstairs, and it's not good. I'm not happy. It's but we're gonna move to PushSquare.com, which Robert Ramsey has an article. PS4 is closing in on 100 million units sold, and it's in line with the all-conquering PS2. This news is kind of taken from Reset Era and Twitter, but compiled into this article, so thank you, Robert. The PS4 has been a beast since its launch in 2013, and it's still pretty much flying off the shelves. The now 5-year-old console just had a great quarter, January to March 2019, and its total sales are now edging extremely close to the hollowed 100 million mark. This info comes from Sony's latest financial report, which reveals that the system currently sits at 96.8 million units as of the 31st of March 2019. So the info comes from Sony financial report. Yeah, the PS4 is actually set to reach 100 million faster than the Nintendo Wii did, and its current trajectory suggests that it's on par with the all-conquering PS2. So it's total sales. Again, doesn't really specify whether that's sold or shipped. The headline says sold, but I don't know. So if someone could let me know in the comments, that'd be awesome. If you're watching the video version, or like I said, get at me on Twitter. But cool. Eclipsing 100 million is no small feat. So, and doing it faster than the Wii did, no small feat. I worked that launch. I worked those years the Wii was popular. It was hell. So that's awesome seeing it kind of catch up to PS2. I don't think it will. I don't think it's going to surpass it, but I think it's safe to say that by the end of the summer, or at least late or mid, I'd say late summer, early fall, we could see it passing the Wii and passing the PS1. That's pretty magnificent. So PS4, man, what a success. Home consoles are dying, remember? Here we are. So again, congratulations to Sony. That is no small feat. That's kind of it. We got one smaller news story. We'll knock this one out, and then it's basically like new games and dates buried as news stories here. But this is from Tom Phillips at Eurogamer. PS5 will not launch before April of 2020. Sony may have begun talking openly about PS5, but it's still a long way from going on sale. Today, Sony announced that it would not release the PlayStation 5 for at least another 12 months, pushing its arrival to May of 2020 at the absolute earliest. Sony made the statement as part of its impressive end of financial year results. 2018 was Sony's most profitable year ever across both the whole company and its dedicated gaming division. Sony shipped another 17.8 million PS4 consoles over the past 12 months, down slightly from the 19 million it shifted the year before. That's weird. Regardless, PS4 now stands at 96.8 million consoles shipped, there it is, over its entire lifespan, meaning it will hit the magical 100 million milestone next year. I don't think next year. I disagree. I think it'll be this year. Profits from the past year's console sales come 31.1 billion yen, which will be plowed into production of PS5, Sony said. So yeah, that's shipped. So it's 96.8 million shipped, which is still impressive. Like that's pretty wild. So in case you're sitting there listening or watching, wondering the difference between shipped and sold, shipped is the process of the console moving from the manufacturer to the retailer. So the system's being made and distributed to Walmart, to Best Buy, to Amazon, to GameSpot, to I don't know, Kmart. Like distributed out to the retailer. Sold is from the retailer to home. So the sold numbers are going to be lower than shipped, obviously, but still shipping 96.8 mil is nothing to scoff at, because they're clearly being, a good chunk of them are selling through. Again, congratulations, and I guess we'll have to keep our eyes out. And what did I tell you? PS5 is not early 2020. It's going to be late 2020, if not 2021, but probably 2020. But at least not till April, so you got time to save. Figure out, budget $500 and then figure out how much money you would need to save till, we'll say, June. Put it at E3 2020, and we could figure this out real fast. So let's figure out. Let's assume. Let us assume the PS5 is going to be $500. It's a fair assessment. We're aiming high, right? $500, and let's say we have 52 weeks plus an additional, we'll say 60 weeks. So $500 over 60 weeks. If you saved $8.33 a week, you could have $500 by next June. So think about it, because that's possible, and I believe in you. Just saying, if Sony were to walk out on stage at E3 2020 and be like, and it's available for $500 now, you could be like, because of Alex, I have been stockpiling $8 1/3 every week since April 29th, or possibly the 30th, or maybe May 1st, and I can buy it today. Thanks, Alex. I'm going to subscribe to your YouTube channel and follow you on Twitch. Please do it sooner. I don't want to wait a year for that, Let's do some new games and dates. Persona 5 Royal was announced. We'll detail this a little bit here. This is from GameSpot. A definitive expanded version of the wonderfully stylish RPG Persona 5 is on the way. Persona 5 Royal will feature a ton of new content and tweaks similar to what developer Atlus had done in the past with Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 FES. Or is it FES? I don't know. Just this week, a detailed trailer showed off a lot of what's new, and we're here to break down and analyze some of the most notable details. Note there will be light spoilers of the original version of PS5. So because of that, I'm not going to go any further because I respect you. Persona 5 Royal is set to launch on October 31st in Japan and sometime in 2020 worldwide, exclusively to the PS4. More details will be revealed May 9th. But you can check out that GameSpot article for more details about Persona 5 Royal. P5S is Persona 5 Scramble, which is a Warriors-style action game, not an RPG Switch port, which is a bummer for a lot of people because they thought P5S meant Persona 5 Switch. However, it is a Dynasty Warriors-style game that is coming to PS4 and Switch, so you're kind of getting what you want, but not really. I think Persona 5 would have been, I mean, that thing is like prime for the Switch, right? Like, I look at what, especially with a game that's so time intensive and so like demanding of your attention to really like play through it and everything like that. Like, that is 100 an hour game, you know? And that's not a game I could sit down and churn out, despite how much I love how it looks, how much I love how the music sounds, all that stuff. I'm never going to play Persona 5 because I know I will never finish it, and there's just no point there. Plus, I'm not a big JRPG guy. Like, you know, I think that's been pretty well established. But I think that game would be right at home on Switch. And I think it would do for Persona 5 what the Vita did for Persona 4 Golden. Now, whether Persona 5 Royal comes to Switch in like later, like late 2020, 2021, I don't know. I'm not a prognosticator of that kind or of any kind, but it's a bummer. It's a bummer because I really do think that game would be right at home on Switch, just like so many of you already also think so. But the game remains PlayStation exclusive. Dying Light 2 was announced and will be at E3 this year. There is an announcement trailer that you can watch. Let's see. There's new details about Madden 20's top 5 new features, as well as Patrick Mahomes being announced as the cover athlete. There is a new career campaign. Let's see, the debut of new career campaign added within the storied Madden NFL franchise experience, Face of the Franchise, QB1, is centered on you. Begin by creating your quarterback and selecting from a series of NCAA Division I schools to compete in the college football playoff. One step closer to an NCAA game coming back, but so many steps away. Superstar X Factors. Every football game has a story to tell, and in every game in Madden NFL 20, you will feel like an NFL superstar. Each game will feel more unique thanks to the select star players that have abilities to reflect what separates these superstars from the rest of the pack each Sunday. These abilities impact the game far beyond any individual rating you've seen in previous editions of Madden. Every franchise will feel more alive with evolving storylines happening alongside every week of your NFL career. Every decision you make will impact what happens to you as you compete for the ultimate NFL achievement, a Super Bowl victory. With Madden's new scenario engine, you'll experience football stories that were previously unavailable to tell. Ultimate Team Missions. Think of Ultimate Team Missions as a roadmap to earning all of the programs and content that matter most to you in Ultimate Team. A new list of activities will be presented daily that will help you improve your Ultimate Team so you can spend more time dominating the competition and earning those sweet rewards along the way, whether it's in head-to-head seasons or in the all-new Ultimate Challenges coming to Madden NFL 20. Speaking of Ultimate Challenges, a fresh spin on solo challenges. Ultimate Challenges allow you to play your friends and earn rewards throughout the season. The community-requested feature makes its debut as players will be able to advance to as many challenges as they want without having to back out of the main menu. Madden NFL 20 will be available worldwide on August 2nd. Pre-order the Ultimate Superstar Edition today and choose one of 4 unique quarterback abilities for your created player in Face of the Franchise. QB1, Steve Young, Kurt Warner, John Elway, or Randall Cunningham. Plus, you'll receive 3-day early access, 15 Gold Team Fantasy Packs, your choice of one out of 32 core elite players from your favorite NFL team, 1 large training quick sell pack in Madden Ultimate Team, 1 past and present elite player pack in Madden Ultimate Team, and 1 Madden Championship Series pack in Madden Ultimate Team. If you want to reread that, is available on the PlayStation blog. Let's see. Also, we've got Figment, a surreal adventure set in the subconscious, has been announced. It will be hitting the PS4 May 14th. Arizona Sunshine, the Damned DLC comes to PSVR this summer. And deals of the day, but I guess of the week, we've got Golden Week with savings up to 65%. Let's see here. So the Golden Week sale ends May 7th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So where bring the fireworks to Raccoon City in Resident Evil 2, parade through Jump Force with manga heroes, or honor old friends with Kingdom Hearts 3, all for up to 65% off. PlayStation Plus members save up to 75%. So Golden Week is a sale dedicated to games that are by Japanese developers and publishers. The full list of games, prices, and everything like that are available on the PlayStation blog with the Golden Week article. It's a lot. It's a lot of Dragon Ball, and Naruto and Hatsune Miku, and some Persona stuff as well. So you can check that stuff out if you dare, though. Go, please. Those were just words I strung together. But that is that, which means, and since I'm only on one laptop, we can finally debut it. It is time to do the drop. Oh yeah. Look at that new drop set. If you're listening to the audio version, jump to the video version on YouTube at about the 1 hour mark so you can see the drop setup I've been teasing but have not been able to execute, but here we are. So remember, the drop are your new releases for the week of April 30th, 2019 on the North American PlayStation Store, only subject to change without notice. First up is Bird Game, which comes to PS4 Digital. In Bird Game, a third-person flying adventure, a very special adventure awaits you. Complete with a serene soundtrack, a difficult yet relaxing adventure awaits all those who wish to be one with nature. Black Paradox comes to PS4 Digital. Black Paradox is a fast-paced rogue-lite shoot-'em-up. Unleash an arsenal of weapons, power-ups, drones, and other upgrades to survive waves of enemies against a backdrop of vibrant pixel art and synthwave soundtrack. Enter the cockpit, ready your weapons, and prepare for the ultimate galactic showdown. Bomb Chicken comes to PS4 Digital. Play as a bomb-laying chicken in this action puzzle platformer. Who doesn't love chicken, especially when it's smothered in delicious blue hot sauce? After a freak accident, a seemingly ordinary chicken becomes a bomb-laying, free-range hero. Explore the versatile mechanic of laying bombs in this explosive exploration platformer. Box VR comes to PSVR Digital. Box VR brings music-enhanced, boxing-inspired workouts to virtual reality gaming. Leading fitness instructors help us produce a variety of boxing workouts specifically designed to destroy calories in the most entertaining way ever devised. We are constantly improving Box VR with new classes, music, moves, and features, and I'm just going to say, if at any goddamn point Box VR is on the top downloaded games for the PSN and Creed Rise to Glory is not, there's going to be hell to pay. Crashbots comes to PS4 Digital out May 1st. Take control of the latest line of robots and test their fighting capabilities, agility, and endurance in various arenas filled with dangerous obstacles, booby traps, and enemies. In World Mode, each reach the finish line of each level before your battery runs out. In Endless Mode, run as far as you can before your energy runs out. The End is Nigh comes to PS4 Digital. Follow Ash, one of the few things that has survived the end of the world. Feel his stress levels rise as you throw him into an endless swarm of decaying mutant creatures and aid his final epic quest to simply make a friend. Fade to Silence comes to PS4 Digital and Retail. Fade to Silence takes players into a frozen post-apocalyptic world where defying nature's threats and enemies is key. A compelling mix of puzzling story, a constant strife for resources, balancing short-term needs versus your long-term goals, and a tense, atmospheric mood makes this game a unique survival adventure. Fell Seal. Yep, that's what it says. Fell Seal, Arbiter's Mark, comes to PS4 Digital. Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark is a turn-based tactical RPG with a focus on storytelling and strategic battles. Unfold a mature story as you progress through handcrafted scenarios controlling your own group of arbiters, with each character customizable from a wide selection of classes and abilities. Giga Wrecker Alt comes to PS4 Digital. In the near future, where the Earth has been ravaged by robot invaders, the fate of the planet rests on the shoulders of a young girl who becomes more than human. Saved from death and cursed with cybernetic powers beyond comprehension, it's up to Rika Rikiji to save humanity from the evil Ajit in this exciting new game from legendary developer Game Freak. Oh, no shit. Tower of Dragonasia comes to PS4 Digital and is without a doubt, categorically and unequivocally, the worst cover art of the week. Experience a unique action-packed adventure as a mythical dragon while fighting waves of dragons to ascend to the top of the Tower of Dragonasia. Play as 5 unique dragons as you venture through 3 worlds of carefully crafted levels and countless waves of enemies in order to climb the mysterious Tower of Dragonasia. Valhalla, a cyberpunk bartender action, comes to PS4 Digital May 2nd, but it's been on the Vita. Why aren't you playing the Vita? Get it on Vita. Play the Vita. You are a bartender at Valhalla, affectionately nicknamed Valhalla, because it's spelled VA-11 Hall-A. Although it is just a small bar in downtown Glitch City, it attracts the most fascinating people this side of dystopia. Keep your clients lubricated and you will be made privy to the most interesting stories. Also, just seeing the word Glitch City reminds me of Glenn Frey from the Eagles' song Flip City from the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack. And if you have not heard Flip City by Glenn Frey, get on YouTube, get on Spotify, do what you got to do. Listen to Flip City by Glenn Frey, because I swear to God, if Glenn Frey made more songs like Flip City, we'd be talking more about Glenn Frey. Other than the fact that he's just a guy from the Eagles. But Valhalla. And those are your new releases for this week on the PlayStation Store. Remember, those are in the North American store only and are subject to change without notice, which now brings us to Trophy Talk. Remember, Trophy Talk is the part of the show where I try to take you from 0 to 100 on a game as fast as possible, because let's face it, you can't even get a VR trophy room, so why the hell should we even care about the sanctity of these damn things anyways? I'm trying to see which ones we may have done last week. Zeroption Invasion is a Ratalica game. I think we touched on that one. It's 11 golds and a platinum. So there's that. That's an easy one. I think we did touch on that one last week, though, so I'm not going to go through it again. Ugly Dolls and Imperfect Adventure has 18 bronze, 5 silver, 6 gold, and a platinum. The platinum currently sits at 8.3% on the PlayStation Network, but a 66.7% on PSN profiles. It's completing the game as 2 different characters, doing a few specific and rescue stuff, picking up 1,000 buttons. Then it's some quantity stuff like craft and trap a certain number of things, lure a certain number of things, spend so much, rummage this many things. So it looks like it's all quantitative. And then beating the game with the 2 characters. And then a few, I guess, semi-light story stuff. I'm not really familiar with what that game is, but it seems like it's a pretty achievable platinum. And that really... Taking one more look here. Take a look at this one, but I think that might be the end of it for it. Yeah, that looks like it's really the only one that's sticking out this week. So feel free to check that one out. But that is it for us here for the 58th? Yeah, I think 58th time, I believe I said earlier. This has been the PlayStation Forecast, and it does come to you each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/PressX2Alex and podcast services around the world, including Spotify. Thank you all so much week in and week out joining me. Remember, you can watch the show live as it happens on twitch.tv/PressX2Alex Monday nights. And if you miss the live stream, never you worry. You can always catch it Tuesdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube when it goes live, and podcast services when it's all published. All of the links that I talk about in terms of where you can find me, how to get in touch with me, where you can subscribe, follow, stuff like that, are always in the episode description on both the audio and video versions of the show. So feel free to check those links out. We're close. We're 8 followers away on Twitch from being one step closer to affiliate status. So if you want to help me out there, That's always appreciated. We're getting close to where I can start saying we're getting close to being to 200 subscribers on YouTube. And as always, you can subscribe to the show on YouTube, your podcast service of choice, 5-star reviews and things like that. And if you want to support the show, you can for $1 a month at patreon.com/pressxtoalex, but you can always go over that buck. I'm never going to stop you. If you don't have any bucks to toss, you can support the show, of course, by subscribing and just telling friends about it and posting it on the internet and just spreading the word. Let's not be selfish with this. Because I still want this. I want to nurture this baby. I want it to grow. But that is it for me. So until next week, I will see you on... I don't know why I said next week. I can see you on Wednesday when I do our weekly live stream, do some more Days Gone. Those start around 8 p.m. Eastern. And now, until next time, I'll see you. I love you. And do the thing.